Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is, will Stephen A. Smith ever stop hating on Kawhi Leonard? So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Well, it's a new season, and Stephen A. Smith is back to hating on Kawhi Leonard. This is his favorite pastime, and I don't know what to say. Right? I just don't know what to say anymore, right? Just a few days ago, they were on there on First Take talking about the future of Kawhi Leonard, right? They were talking about the future of Kawhi Leonard, and Stephen A. Smith had something very interesting to say. Now, let me just say this quickly. Stephen A. Smith has a history of saying ridiculous things about Kawhi Leonard. For whatever reason, he seems to have an issue with the guy for reasons that are unbeknownst to me, right? I just think, I've said that I believe the reason that he has an issue with Kawhi is that Kawhi Leonard doesn't give him any time. I think there was at one point in the playoffs where Kawhi had a quote where they asked him after one of the games, the team was under criticism for how it was performing. It may have been that Dallas series, and Kawhi Leonard said, I'm not on social media or anything like this, so I had no idea we were being criticized. I had no idea people were saying anything negative about us. And they cut back to Stephen A. Smith's face, and he looked so hurt. He was like, damn. All of this work, all of this nonsense I've been saying, and this guy can't even hear it? So Stephen A. Smith seemed to be very, very discouraged at the fact that Kawhi Leonard does not hear any of his criticism. But nevertheless, he still marches on. Just a few weeks ago, we did a video of him on TV lying on Kawhi Leonard, saying that Kawhi Leonard is not a good teammate, saying that he doesn't check in on his teammates. This is during the playoffs, I believe, when he was injured, and Chris Paul was under COVID protocols when the Phoenix Suns won Game 2, and they saw them celebrating in the locker room with Chris Paul on FaceTime, and he was there talking about Mike Wilbon's like, will Kawhi Leonard do something like that? He would never do something like that. But we all know who he is. And then we pulled up a compilation of sound bites of his teammates and his coaches saying Kawhi Leonard is always in constant communication with us. So when I pulled that up, I was like, what is this guy talking about? It's either he's grossly misinformed, which there's no excuse for that at that level, right? Or you're doing this on purpose, which to me is even more alarming. Right. So we've done videos on this, and he's known for having dumb takes on Kawhi. But this one, again, he had to reiterate some of his idiotic takes on Kawhi Leonard. So before I go too far, I want you guys to take a listen to what Stephen A. Smith had to say about Kawhi Leonard when he was talking to Kenny Smith on First Take. Take a listen to this.
In the free agency. So you can't turn back now. there's no turning back now, brother.
Kenny, let me say this. I know Kawhi's a two-time champion, but while I got you on the show, let me also reiterate a position that I've echoed in the past. I have no problem recognizing Kawhi Leonard as one of the top 5 players, and the brother is just big time. There's no denying that. He's a two-time champion. We get that. But Kenny, I got serious doubts as to whether or not I would want to invest with him long-term. You talk about a 1 or 2 year deal, that's different. But long-term, speak to us a second about culture in the sport of basketball. When you instigate load management, when you play when you want to play, practice when you want to practice, and you're injury prone, how can that build the proper culture for you, particularly if you're the Los Angeles Clippers? What do you say to that?
Well, they're handcuffed.
Now, in that soundbite, Stephen A. Smith had a few things to say. In the clip, he said that he spoke about Kawhi Leonard's load management and how that could be a bad thing for teams or for an organization's culture, right? How that could have a negative effect on a team. Well, let's go back to 2 years ago when he was with the Toronto Raptors. Just 2 seasons ago, Kawhi Leonard load managed with the Toronto Raptors. Why? Why did Kawhi Leonard load manage with the Toronto Raptors? The reason that Kawhi Leonard was load managing with the Toronto Raptors was because he was misdiagnosed by the Spurs. They misdiagnosed an injury that he had. So when he went to the Raptors, he was being cautious. What ended up happening was, in that 82-game season, Kawhi Leonard ended up playing 60 of the 82 games in that season. 60 of them. Then they went into the playoffs, and he played all 24 games that the team participated in. He led the team. He scored about 30 points per game, shot close to 50% from the field, close to 40% from the three, led the playoffs in points, rebounds, and steals, had the third highest scoring output in an NBA playoffs since Michael Jordan and LeBron James, and he won the title and he won the finals MVP. So the load management worked. And the result of it was an NBA championship, the first ever that the Toronto Raptors ever captured. Then we go back just to last season. Of the 72 games that were available, Kawhi Leonard played 52. If you guys go back, you will think on this carefully. Kawhi Leonard was playing back-to-back for the first time in a very long time due to his coach, and Tyronn Lue, who, was able to coax him to say, hey, man, you can do it. He played back-to-back games for the very first time. The reason Kawhi Leonard missed 20 games this season was due to injuries. He was injured at different points of the season. One of them was an elbow that he caught to the face, an inverted elbow that he caught to the face by his teammate Serge Ibaka, which caused him to miss, I believe, 2 games or so. And then the other one was an injury that he sustained later on in the season. I think he was having an issue with his foot or something like this. I don't remember exactly. Those were the reasons he missed games. So Stephen A. Smith talked about load management, but it doesn't work with Kawhi Leonard because the last team that did it, they won a championship before the Clippers. That's number one. Number two, he spoke about, well, he could be injured and all of this different thing, his injury past, and it would give him cause to pause. Let me give you guys a list. Let me give you guys some players, and I want to, do you know, I want to give you guys some names, and I want to give you guys some names of some players last season that have something in common with Kawhi Leonard. Last season, LeBron James played 45 games. Anthony Davis played 36 games. Joel Embiid played 51 games. Kevin Durant played 35 games. Kawhi Leonard played more games than LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, and Joel Embiid. By Stephen A. Smith's logic, that means that LeBron James, AD, KD, and Joel Embiid are bad for the team culture. And he would have worries about their injury past too, right? Because they missed games too. So the Lakers and the Nets and all of these teams and the Philadelphia 76ers should be thinking about possibly moving in a different direction according to Stephen A. Smith's logic if we apply it across the board. It is one of the most idiotic takes that you can have on an NBA player. The very same thing that he's criticizing Kawhi Leonard for missing games is the exact same things all of these players just had on their resumes just last season. These players I just listed missed more games than Kawhi Leonard. So should those teams be thinking to move on from them? It's such an idiotic take, but this is what he's best at. Stephen A. Smith is good at painting narratives about people. He's not giving you any kind of substantive analysis when it comes to Kawhi Leonard. It would give him cause to pause. What about all these other players? Or are you too blinded by your disdain for the guy that is causing you to overlook or purposely omit other players from this analysis? Whatever the case is, it's a silly thing to say that he has an injury. And when I just give you a litany of players here who have missed more games than him. So should those organizations move on from them? It's an idiotic stance to take. But nevertheless, he goes out there and keeps saying it. And there are people out there that buy into it and feel like as if he's saying something enlightening. Like, he makes a good point. But I'll stop and think, wait a minute, what other players out there are missing games too? But this is what he's very good at. Another aspect of this that's worth scrutinizing is the fact that, wait a minute, you're telling me that the Clippers is an organization who just made it to the first Western Conference Finals ever, and Kawhi Leonard had a major part to do with that. You're telling me that they should move on from him or consider moving on from him, and somehow that's going to be in the best interest for the organization moving forward. How does this make sense to anyone that has a brain between their ears? How? How do the Clippers as an organization get better by moving on from Kawhi Leonard, given the fact that they basically punted on their future by getting rid of all of those future picks, getting rid of all of those players that they had in the past in order to acquire Kawhi Leonard and Paul George? They should now turn around 2 years later and say, you know what, we should just consider letting this guy go, and then what? Somehow they're going to be in a better position to moving forward. We just agreed that Paul George is not enough by himself to get them there. And you need Kawhi Leonard, and with all of those things being in place, they should get rid of him, and they should be reconsidering they should be reconsidering their stance and their position on Kawhi Leonard moving forward. This is the most idiotic analysis you can give on a player. It is. It really, really is. No one at the Clippers organization would listen to that information and feel like this guy is saying something intelligent. It's absolutely stupid. It's a stupid notion on every single level. And I believe the only reason he's saying this is because of a personal vendetta. Because if you remove that out of it and you just scrutinize the information or the things that he's saying, and you apply a little bit of logic, you'll realize it makes no sense. It makes no sense. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Stephen A. Smith is a very petty man, and he seems to be a guy that's driven by agendas. It's the same reason he can come out there and say, where do you think this Russell Westbrook trade puts the Lakers? Oh, I believe they can go to the trade. It's like, bro, did you even analyze the trade? I can understand a casual fan being excited and being pumped up and saying, we're going to the NBA Finals. That's a fan. But you as an analyst, you're not a commentator, you're an analyst. You're supposed to analyze things and then give sound arguments. But all you're concerned with is sound bites and clicks and ratings. It's one of the reasons I said in the past he made those comments. He purposefully made fun of those Nigerian players' names. What he was trying to do was entertain people at the expense of others. He was trying to give a hot take. Instead, it ended up being a dumb take. This is the reason why I don't take this guy seriously. I think that Stephen A. Smith is just an entertainer. Because if his reason that the Clippers should be a little bit cautious or trepidatious about Kawhi Leonard is because of his load management, which I just debunked here in his injury past, and I just gave you a litany of all players that were injured. And look at Kevin Durant, who just came off a torn Achilles. The Brooklyn Nets signed him, and didn't it pay off in a major way? If those are his reasons, then we need to really look into Stephen A. Smith and understand what is the purpose. Why does he go on TV and say these things? What is the real reason that he does this? There's no logic or sense behind it. There's none. Then I go through some of the comments. I comb through some of the comments and I see some people say, oh, he's making a good point. I can see what he's saying. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean you see what he's saying? So anyway, those are my thoughts and opinion. I know I went off on a tangent here for a minute, but I just think this is a really dumb take. I think this guy is just hating on Kawhi Leonard, and I think all he does is search for hot takes, and this was a dumb take. This is my thoughts, and I'm not taking it back. This is exactly how I feel about some of the things that he had to say. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day. Catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.